Week in, week out, the headlines come and go. Yet, the tendency remains the same. Invaders continue to wreak havoc in Western society. As some nations appear almost lost to savagery, few voices seem to recognize the urgency and gravity of the situation. I am a Christian nationalist. You don't need to be a Christian, but at the very least, you have to be a true patriot to be well regarded in my book. You love your nation or you don't, and you demonstrate the former by putting your people first. You ain't worth my time until you do. Hating the government is a start, and you hate them because they betrayed you. They betrayed you by caring more about the ones outside than their own. You hate them because they intend to destroy you and your family, corrode your principles, cancel your faith, and ruin your soil. America first, Europe first. Depending on where you live, it shouldn't be that hard. Screw these foreign wars, sucking our economies and military forces dry. We have a huge problem at home. You have all seen and heard about it. The Quran says, O Prophet, tell your wives and your daughters and the women of the believers to bring down over themselves of their outer garments. That is more suitable that they will be known and not be abused. And ever is Allah forgiving and merciful. Quote, unquote. The implication here is that if women do not cover themselves properly, abuse could be justified. Let's see some recent examples, shall we? Falkenberg, Sweden. 2 Iraqi citizens in their 30s got detained for kidnapping and raping 3 high school girls, aged 15 and 16, as they held them captive and drugged in an apartment for more than 24 hours. One of the teenage girls managed to escape and alert the police. Both men had criminal records, minor drug offenses, and one was sentenced to 8 months in prison for assault. Despite this, he was allowed to stay in Sweden. London, England. 4 teenage Afghan boys have been arrested in connection with the rape of a schoolgirl aged 15. An Afghani of the same age was arrested on suspicion of rape, while the other 3, aged 13, 15, and 16, were arrested as they facilitated the attack by holding the victim down and acting as lookouts. The incident took place at a school in Dover on February 6. The boys all arrived in the United Kingdom as refugees last year and have now been released on bail. Great. Why? Because the British government and judicial system hate their own citizens. Paris, France. Police say a 66-year-old woman was raped inside her home by a man of African origin, with the suspect presenting himself as a doctor to trick the victim and gain her trust. Elderly women have been the target of several sexual assaults in recent years, including a 67-year-old woman who was raped by an Algerian criminal during an excruciating night of torture in September of last year. That same month, a 51-year-old woman was sexually assaulted by a criminal of unknown origin. In October of last year, 44-year-old Samir was arrested for raping 2 women over 90 years old in their hospital beds in Paris. Regensburg, Germany. The principal of a girls' school has sent a letter to the parents of over 1,200 students to only allow their daughters to walk to school in groups. The warning comes after a rape recently occurred near the school grounds with 2 Tunisian criminals in their 20s accused of raping a 29-year-old woman. In addition to the rape, there have been several robberies involving migrants targeting supermarkets during the day. Catania, Italy. Deputy Prime Minister Matteo Salvini has called for the chemical castration of individuals convicted of violent sexual offenses. This call to action follows the arrest of 7 Egyptian criminals accused of gang rape. In the late afternoon of January 30, a 13-year-old girl, accompanied by her 17-year-old boyfriend, was attacked and sexually assaulted by 2 of the 7 suspects, while the others restrained her boyfriend and stood guard. Passers-by discovered the traumatized couple and quickly alerted the authorities. How can we forget the incident in which several Venezuelan criminals openly assaulted New York City Police Department officers in Times Square just to be released without bail, despite their illegal status and lack of local family ties? Only 1 suspect out of 7 of them remains in custody.
Does ensue. Thursday, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced that 7 people had been indicted in connection with the January 27th attack. I do want to send it over to our Fox 5 New York team as they filed this report with a closer look at the video.
We're getting a better look from multiple angles surrounding January 27th's violent beatdown of 2 NYPD officers.
A large group of these males, Mr. Brito included, are standing in front of the shelter and they're blocking 42nd Street, forcing people to walk around them.
The officers instruct them to go to West 41st Street. Henry Brito, the only suspect currently held at Rikers, is seen on body cam footage telling the officers, "Don't touch me." And seconds later, after he grabs a stroller and begins walking, one of those officers grabs him and pins him against the wall. Brito asks in Spanish, "Why are you stopping me?"
He refused a lawful order. They attempted to place him under arrest, and the melee begins.
The incident in that instant turns physical as the men around Brito responds to his arrest, kicking and striking officers. Brito comes out of his shirt, and more of the men, prosecutors say a total of 14, jump in, kicking those officers. Thursday, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced a grand jury returned 6 additional indictments against the suspects involved with the assault.
I stand here today confident that we have identified the roles of every person who broke the law and participated in this heinous attack.
DA Bragg went down the line detailing each individual charged in the incident and their role in the assault. They're all accused of striking one of the officers, if not both.
The 5 who have had their charges unsealed all face felony charges. 4 face a top charge of assault in the 2nd degree. 1 faces a top charge of tampering with physical evidence. And as I said, the remaining 2 charges are unsealed.
Mayor Adams supporting DA Bragg's resistance to rush the prosecution, a source of nationwide scrutiny following the assault.
He wanted to get it right.
I've been thinking a lot about a phrase I've been hearing, that anti-racist is just a code word for anti-white.
It's starting to make sense. They say that they're anti-racist, but what they really are is anti-white.
Think about it.
Nobody says that a black neighborhood needs more diversity. Nobody says that an Asian neighborhood needs diversity.
White neighborhoods and only white neighborhoods are said to need more diversity.
Nobody says that a black church needs more diversity.
Nobody says that Asian churches need more diversity.
White churches and only white churches need more diversity.
Black pride is seen as good and healthy and normal. Asian pride is seen as good, healthy, and normal.
But if I show pride in my race, the white race, I'm said to be a Nazi who wants to kill 6 million Jews.
If a black woman wants to date inside her race, that's acceptable. If an Asian woman wants to date inside her race, that's acceptable.
But if I want to date and marry within my race, the white race, I'm called the R word.
Black politicians are openly admitting that they are working towards the best interests of their people. Hispanic politicians are openly admitting that they are working towards the best interests of their people.
If a white politician were to openly admit that they were working in the best interest of their people, there would be a national scandal, a public outcry, and would be kicked out of office.
Throughout elementary school, junior high, high school, and college, I was told that my race, the white race, was the cause of all the world's problems. Now, many of you had jobs where minorities say things that would get you, as a white person, instantly fired.
This conditioning is done to white people and only white people. White children, and only white children, are being affected by this, and only white countries are doing this.
The Aztecs conquered many surrounding Native American tribes, practiced human sacrifice, and held slaves.
Yet anti-racists don't say that Mexicans must apologize forever and have their lands forcibly flooded with non-Mexicans and be forced to assimilate.
The Ottoman Empire attacked white Slavs and took many of them as slaves, so much that we get the word slave from the Slavs.
Yet anti-racists don't say that the Turks must apologize forever and have their lands flooded with non-Turks.
World history is a rainbow of violence.
Yet all whites and only whites are demonized for this violence. Anti-racism is the code word for anti-white. Resist this conditioning by using this mantra.
Africa for the Africans, Asia for the Asians, white countries for everyone.
Everybody says that there's this race problem. Everybody says that this race problem will only be solved when the third world pours into white countries and only white countries.
The Netherlands and Belgium are just as crowded as Japan and Taiwan, but nobody says that Japan and Taiwan will solve this race problem by bringing in millions of third worlders and, quote, assimilating, unquote, with them.
Everybody says that the final solution to this race problem is for every white country, and only white country, to assimilate, i.e. intermarry with all those non-whites.
What if I said that there was this race problem, and that this race problem would only be solved if millions of non-blacks were brought into every black country and only black countries?
How long would it take anyone to realize I'm not talking about a race problem? I'm talking about the final solution to the black problem.
And how long would it take any sane black man to notice this? And what kind of psycho black man wouldn't object to this?
But if I tell the obvious truth about the ongoing program of genocide against my race, the white race,
The obvious truth about the ongoing program of genocide against my race,
The ongoing program of genocide against my race, the white race.
But if I tell the obvious truth about the ongoing program of genocide against my race, the white race, liberals and respectable conservatives agree that I'm a Nazi who wants to kill 6 million Jews.
they say they are anti-racist, but what they are is anti-white.
Anti-racist is a code word for anti-white.
While everyone was losing their heads over the most anticipated interview in recent years, I was probably looking at more pressing things. Why would I have any interest in listening to second-layer geopolitics from two confessed Kabbalists, two men who, albeit interesting, are bought and paid for as two of the most notorious control opposition players out there? Once KGB, always KGB. Just like once CIA, always CIA. And while Vladimir Putin joked with Tucker Carlson about his rejection when he tried to become a special agent, there is no reason to believe these players are on opposing sides.
Конечно. With the backing of CIA, of course. The organization you wanted to join back in the day, as I understand. We should thank God they didn't let you in. Although, it is a serious organization. I understand.
Putin, the anti-hero who many Q-tards pointed out as a reluctant Western savior, and Tucker, the journalistic crusader who works for the people, but coddles pedophile elitists like Hunter Biden. Yes, during the interview, Putin talks about the coup d'etat in Ukraine involving Joe Biden, George Soros, the CIA, and Victoria Nuland. But I have known this for the last 2-3 years. And while this may wake up a few people about the war, the result has become predictable and inconsequential to our people. The Ukraine war was organized by the hidden hand and is just another depopulation resettlement program like Palestine. Henry Kissinger started the World Economic Forum with Klaus Schwab. Putin was one of the initial members, along with Angela Merkel. He has not turned against the New World Order. The pieces are getting ready, building themselves up for the second coming of Donald Trump. The team fake light that is supposed to replace the old world order and mislead billions of patriots into the abyss is becoming more cohesive and daunting. As the paid control opposition influencers shield for the main characters, we carry on. Avoid paying them too much attention. It's all a distraction. Whatever happens with these insidious players and their secret societies is mostly irrelevant now. As the predatory class prepares itself to receive the Antichrist and welcome his persona into their fold, our world has entered the final stage of degeneracy. Things have never looked so grim, and they will only get worse. Stay close to your family and open your heart to God and Jesus Christ, as the time to make that crucial decision is almost over. You cannot serve two masters, and you cannot stand in the middle of the road. The time has come for you to decide what side you're on. Your cheap false idols or the Holy Father. What is it?
There are reports that Elon Musk had already had a chip implanted in the human brain in the USA.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think there's no stopping Elon Musk. He will do as he sees fit. Nevertheless, you need to find some common ground with him, search for ways to persuade him. I think he's a smart person, I truly believe he is. So you need to reach an agreement with him because this process needs to be formalized and subjected to certain rules.
One of our senior United States senators from the state of New York, Chuck Schumer, said yesterday, I believe, that we have to continue to fund the Ukrainian effort or U.S. soldiers, citizens could wind up fighting there. How do you assess that?
Well, if somebody has the desire to send regular troops, that would certainly bring humanity to the brink of very serious global conflict. This is obvious. Do the United States need this? What for? Thousands of miles away from your national territory. Don't you have anything better to do? You have issues on the border, issues with migration, issues with the national debt, more than $33 trillion. You have nothing better to do, so you should fight in Ukraine? Wouldn't it be better to negotiate with Russia? Make an agreement, already understanding the situation that is developing today, realizing that Russia will fight for its interests to the end?
So I just want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding what you're saying. I don't think that I am. I think you're saying you want a negotiated settlement to what's happening in Ukraine.
Right. And we made it. We prepared a huge document in Istanbul that was initialed by the head of the Ukrainian delegation. He affixed his signature to some of the provisions, not to all of it. He put his signature and then he himself said, We were ready to sign it and the war would have been over long ago, 18 months ago. However, Prime Minister Johnson came, talked us out of it, and we missed that chance.
Who blew up Nord Stream?
You for sure.
I was busy that day. Nate, do you have I did not blow up Nord Stream. Thank you, though.
У вас лично, может быть, есть алиби, у вас лично.
You personally may have an alibi, but the CIA has no such alibi.
Do you have evidence that NATO or the CIA did it?
Вы знаете,
You know, I won't get into details, but people always say in such cases, look for someone who is interested. But in this case, we should not only look for someone who is interested, but also for someone who has capabilities.
I just got to ask you one last question, and that's about someone who's very famous in the United States, probably not here, Evan Gershkovich, who's the Wall Street Journal reporter.
Мы столько сделали жестов доброй воли, что, мне кажется, мы исчерпали все линии.
We have done so many gestures of goodwill out of decency that I think we have run out of them.
Ни разу не ответил.
We have never seen anyone reciprocate to us in a similar manner. However, in theory, we can say that we do not rule out that we can do that if our partners take reciprocal steps. I do not rule out that the person you refer to, Mr. Gershkovich, may return to his motherland. By the end of the day, it does not make any sense to keep him in prison in Russia. We want the U.S. Special Services to think about how they can contribute to achieving the goals our special services are pursuing. We are ready to talk. Moreover, the talks are underway. And there have been many successful examples of these talks crowned with success. Probably this is going to be crowned with success as well. But we have to come to an agreement.
Flaming Argentinian President Javier Milei landed last Tuesday in Israel, where he announced that he would be moving Argentina's embassy to Jerusalem. Milei, who made Israel the destination of his first bilateral visit since he assumed the presidency in December, had pledged to make the move during his election campaign. Milei's personal rabbi, Shimon Axel Warnish, joined the former economist on his visit as an envoy. Foreign Minister Israel Katz met Milei at the Ben Gurion airport and thanked the Argentinian for supporting Israel in its war against Hamas in Gaza and for recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Milei also met with President Isaac Herzog, welcomed with an IDF band playing the national anthems of both countries. The first such welcome since the war with Hamas began on October 7. The usual political posturing and warmongering took place as the Israeli politicians took the opportunity to focus on war propaganda. Milei stated that he had sent a bill to Argentina's Congress demanding the release of all hostages, including the 11 Argentinian citizens. Milei brought Argentina's foreign minister Diana Mondino along with him on the 3-day trip, in addition to Warnish. While Milei is not officially Jewish, he has expressed an interest in Judaism and has talked about potentially converting. His studies with Warnish in Buenos Aires, has quoted Torah passages in rallies, and walked out on stage for a campaign event to a recording of a shofar. On his first trip abroad after winning the election in November, Milei visited the tomb of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson in Queens, New York. A very shady character, by the way. His visit was pretty dangerously close to the discovery and destruction of the underground ritual tunnels found in the headquarters of Shabbat Lubavitch. Some people online suggest that he had participated in an initiation ritual on the premises, and that's why the cult was trying to destroy the tunnels and fill them with cement to obliterate any evidence. Talmudic Jew cults have been documented across the ages participating in the sacrifice of Goyim children for their occult rituals. The first time I heard about Milei, it was probably around 2020. As a libertarian, it would be natural for me to be a bit excited about his rise to power, but there has always been something off about the passionate speaker. You could say his speech is violent, but it goes beyond that. This recent demonstration at the Wailing Wall shows a fanatic submission that seems like bad news for Argentina. The country has suffered enough due to years of shameless socialist policies, and Milei has managed to deceive many nationalists and enthusiasts across the globe as a solution for the South American nation and a first step to change the current political landscape in the region. But once you get through the hopium and take a look at those who own him, it is clear that Milei, much like Donald Trump and the rest of controlled opposition politicians, is all about Israel first. With the Argentinian, his apparent emotional volatility is a valid concern. Many ask themselves what he may bring to the fold, as war drums are sounding in the European and American continents. Is he the South American war pawn, like Volodymyr Zelensky is in Europe? After his presidential victory, Milei also participated in a Havdalah ceremony to mark the end of Shabbat in Once, a Jewish neighborhood of Buenos Aires, where he received blessings from Kabbalist Rabbi David Hanania Pinto. Milei is now in Italy and the Vatican, where he meets with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. Milei will also meet with Pope Francis, a fellow Argentine. The White Pope is also an infiltrator, as he is a known Jesuit and a Freemason. Milei called Francis the evil one and an imbecile who promotes communism before his election, but the two seem to be working to reconcile. In reality, we all know all these crypto Jews work together.
בבקשה לצאת. אין כרטיס עיתונאי, צריך לצאת. צריך לצאת. אין לי אפשרות אחרת, בבקשה. תוציא לי את כל מי שלא עיתונאי פה. מבטיחים, אתם מבטיחים לכל ערוצי הטלוויזיה. אורי, בוא תנס. תנס פוטו, אורי.
Tremendo abrazo de los guanes. Sí, sí, 100%. Acá tenemos a Luca con los momentos. Está llorando. Sí.
over me, till I let the love wash over me. Say it up because the whole world begging me to rain fire above upon my enemies. Till the love washed over me, till I let the love wash over me every day. It's a gift, that's why we call it a blessing. Every day. It's a gift, that's why we call it a blessing. Every day is a gift.